What's going on, Bears Nation? Welcome back to Bears News Fan Report, your #1 destination for the latest breaking news, insider updates, and in-depth analysis on our beloved Chicago Bears. I'm here to keep you locked in on everything happening with our team, and let me tell you, the past 72 hours have been absolutely wild. Something significant just went down that's going to impact how we approach the rest of this season, and I need to walk you through every single detail, because this story has more layers than most people realize. We're sitting at 5-3 right now. We've got legitimate playoff aspirations, and the decisions being made in the building are going to determine whether we're just happy to be here or if we're actually going to make some noise in January. There's been massive speculation swirling around about potential blockbuster moves, about elite pass rushers becoming available, about Ryan Poles potentially going all in on this season with Caleb Williams, showing real progress under Ben Johnson. The entire Bears community has been on edge, waiting to see what would happen, and I'm about to break down exactly what transpired, why it matters, and what it means for our championship hopes moving forward. So make sure you stick around until the end, because I'm going to give you my honest assessment of where we stand and where we're headed. Let me set the stage for you. Week 9 against the Cincinnati Bengals was supposed to be a statement game for us, a chance to prove we belong in the conversation with the elite teams in the NFC. And in a lot of ways, it was exactly that. Caleb Williams continued his development, showing poise and decision-making that has us all excited about the future. Rookie tight end Colston Loveland had his best performance of the season, finally showing why we were so high on him coming out of the draft. Kyle Monangai gave us explosive plays in the running game that we desperately needed. The offense looked dynamic, creative, and capable of scoring on anyone. But there was a dark cloud hanging over what should have been a celebration of our progress. Dayo Odeyingbo went down with a season-ending Achilles injury, and just like that, our pass rush depth took a devastating hit. Losing a productive edge rusher in the middle of a playoff push is the kind of setback that can derail an entire season if you're not careful about how you respond. The injury to Odeyingbo immediately sparked conversations throughout the organization and among the fan base about what our next move would be. We all know that in today's NFL, you absolutely must be able to generate pressure on the quarterback. It doesn't matter how good your secondary is, it doesn't matter how well coached your linebackers are, if you can't get home and disrupt the opposing quarterback, you're going to get picked apart by elite offenses. We've seen it happen to talented defenses year after year. They look dominant early in the season, but as soon as teams figure out they have time to throw, the whole thing falls apart. That's the nightmare scenario we're trying to avoid, and losing Odeyingbo put us in a precarious position where we needed to find a solution fast. This is where things started getting really interesting. Almost immediately after the injury, one name started circulating in every conversation about potential trade targets: Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, if you're not familiar with Hendrickson, let me give you the full scouting report. This man is an absolute monster off the edge. He's a proven Pro Bowl talent who has consistently produced at an elite level for years. We're talking about a guy who can change games single-handedly, who commands double teams, who makes offensive coordinators lose sleep trying to figure out how to slow him down. The thought of adding someone of his caliber to our defense was intoxicating. Imagine Hendrickson lining up opposite our existing pass rushers, creating havoc in the backfield, giving our secondary extra time to cover, and making life miserable for opposing quarterbacks down the stretch. It was the kind of move that could legitimately transform us from a playoff hopeful into a genuine Super Bowl contender. Dan Graziano from ESPN connected the dots between Chicago and Hendrickson on November 2nd, laying out the case for why this move made sense for both sides. He acknowledged that it would essentially be a 2-month rental, since Hendrickson isn't signed beyond this season, but he also pointed out that our standings say we're in win-now mode. Ben Johnson has been crystal clear that he has zero interest in making this a slow rebuild. He wants to compete immediately, he wants to maximize Caleb Williams' rookie contract window, and he wants to build a winning culture right now, not 3 years from now. That aggressive mentality from our head coach had everyone believing that Ryan Poles might actually pull the trigger on a franchise-altering move. Poles has shown throughout his tenure that he's not afraid to be active at the trade deadline, that he's willing to make bold decisions when he believes they elevate the roster. All the pieces seem to be falling into place for something spectacular to happen. But here's where reality started to complicate the fairy tale. The Cincinnati Bengals weren't just going to give away one of the premier pass rushers in the entire league. They wanted significant compensation, and the asking price was steep, a first-round pick. Now, let me be clear about something. Trey Hendrickson is an incredible player, but he's also on the wrong side of 30 years old with a projected market value of $133 million. Giving up a first-round pick for a rental player at that age and that price point is an enormous gamble, especially when you're still building a young core around a rookie quarterback. It's the kind of move that can either make you look like a genius if everything breaks right, or leave you looking foolish if the player gets hurt or doesn't mesh with your system or leaves in free agency without delivering a championship. The risk-reward calculation on something like that is incredibly complex, and it requires careful consideration of where you are as an organization and what your realistic chances are of winning it all this season. As the trade deadline approached, the tension in Bears Nation was absolutely palpable. Everyone was refreshing their social media feeds constantly, waiting for breaking news, debating whether Poles would go for it or play it safe. Some fans were screaming for the team to mortgage the future and go all in right now. Others were preaching patience, arguing that we shouldn't sacrifice long-term assets for a short-term rental when we're still a piece or two away from being true championship contenders. It was fascinating to watch the community split on this question because both sides had legitimate arguments. On Tuesday, Jay Glazer from Fox Sports basically threw cold water on the whole thing when a fan asked him directly if Chicago would be active at the deadline. Glazer confirmed that, yes, the Bears would be making moves, but he was quick to temper expectations by saying it didn't mean we'd land a big-name player. He explained that there just aren't that many elite talents being shopped unless teams are getting a huge haul in return, and the fact that some of these guys have contracts expiring after this season complicates things even further. His exact words were that he didn't see anything splashy happening, which was a pretty clear signal that the Trey Hendrickson dream was probably not going to become reality. So, that's where we stood heading into deadline day. The Hendrickson speculation had been exciting to think about, but it was looking increasingly unlikely. The question then became, would Ryan Poles sit on his hands and do nothing, or would he find a different solution to address our pass rush needs? The answer came later that same Tuesday when Adam Schefter from ESPN broke the news that sent shockwaves through the organization. The Bears had made a trade with the Cleveland Browns, acquiring defensive end Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and a 7th-round pick in exchange for a 6th-round pick. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka? That's not Trey Hendrickson. That's not the splashy blockbuster move we were all dreaming about. And you're absolutely right, it's not. But before we dismiss this move as underwhelming or disappointing, let me break down exactly what we're getting and why this could actually be a really smart piece of business by our front office. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was a first-round pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2021. So he came into the league with legitimate pedigree and high expectations. Things didn't work out for him in Tampa the way everyone hoped, which happens sometimes when young players end up in situations that aren't the right fit. He's now 26 years old, which means he's still in his athletic prime, with his best football potentially still ahead of him. During his time with the Buccaneers, he put up 15 sacks, showing that he has the ability to get to the quarterback when given opportunities. This past offseason, He signed a one-year deal with Cleveland worth $4.75 million, essentially a prove-it contract where he's trying to rebuild his value and earn a bigger payday down the road. The problem in Cleveland has been playing time. He's appeared in all 8 games this season, but he's only played 31 defensive snaps total, which tells you he wasn't getting the opportunities he needed to showcase his abilities. That's about to change dramatically now that he's in Chicago. The beauty of this trade from our perspective is that we're not giving up significant assets. We moved back 1 round in the draft, essentially swapping a 6th for a 7th, and we picked up a young pass rusher with first-round talent who's hungry to prove himself. There's no massive financial commitment beyond this season, there's no long-term risk, and there's legitimate upside if Tryon-Shoyinka can recapture the form that made him a first-round pick in the first place. He's going to get real playing time here, real opportunities to rush the passer and make an impact. And if he responds to that opportunity the way we hope he will, this could end up being one of the steals of the deadline. Sometimes the best moves aren't the flashiest ones. Sometimes it's about finding undervalued players who just need a change of scenery and a chance to play. And that's exactly what we're betting on with this acquisition. Let's talk about what this means for our defense moving forward. We're not going to pretend that Tryon-Shoyinka is going to single-handedly transform our pass rush into an elite unit overnight. That would be unrealistic and unfair to put that kind of pressure on him. But what he can do is provide quality depth, give us another body in the rotation who can spell our starters and keep everyone fresh, and potentially develop into a legitimate contributor if everything clicks. The coaching staff is going to have a few weeks to work with him, to teach him our system, to find the best ways to utilize his skill set, and to see if there's chemistry between him and the other guys in our defensive front. If he can give us even 6 or 7 quality snaps per game, where he's winning his matchups and creating pressure, that's a huge win for what we gave up to get him. And if he exceeds expectations and becomes more than that, then Ryan Poles is going to look like an absolute genius for identifying this opportunity and pouncing on it. The bigger picture here is about how we're approaching this season as an organization. We're currently 5-3 with a winning record and legitimate playoff hopes. Caleb Williams is showing steady improvement week after week, looking more comfortable in Ben Johnson's offense and making the kind of throws that have us all believing he can be a franchise quarterback. Our offensive weapons are starting to click, with Loveland and Monangai having breakout performances that suggest we're only going to get more dangerous as the season progresses. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay up to date on every single development with the Chicago Bears, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for Bears News Fan Report. I'm bringing you the latest news, the most detailed analysis, and insider perspectives you won't find anywhere else. This is your home for everything Bears, and I'm committed to keeping you informed throughout this entire season and beyond. Let's keep this energy going, let's keep supporting our team, and let's see how far this squad can take us. Bear down, everyone, and I'll catch you in the next video.